Back in 2009, I got to witness some UFOs above my flat. It was the flying triangle formation, whatever. And I saw how they flew, and it was completely silent. And I'm not so much interested in who is in them. I was more interested in understanding how could they fly like they fly. And I've made several suggestions, several possibilities, several were about things, let's say, more psychological or illusional. I was thinking about holograms. I was thinking about many things. You just see it. Again, it's not like I care who pilots them. What I care is, well, I had my theories about physics, like delta theory and also inconsistent. So I had like a framework with which I analyzed reality, and while this framework did not negate the possibility that things like I've seen could exist, it surely did not explain how. And I was kind of like puzzled. What did I miss? And I was thinking about it for a long time. And then there was a eureka moment showing that there might be some misunderstanding of what these sightings are and why things that happen during such sightings, like for example, there's a widely known rumor that wherever UFOs land, the grass is cut, it's dead. Question of why the light? Why do they need light? I mean, if they fly so silently, why do they need light? Do they need to see? So gives like a beginning of an explanation, and maybe that's actually the design. That's actually how they work. But let's forget about that. Let's just talk about antigravity. Antigravity, the whole idea. The question is, how do we resist this force? But that's not the question that is actually you should be asking. We should be asking a different thing, and that is, how come particles or elements, physical elements, are affected by anything? Apparently, there shouldn't be a reason why any force would affect matter, because matter is like closed under its own consistency. It's like it simply exists. So why anything should affect it? We think, like, let's say we have two billiard balls and they collide. We think they collide because of the tension between the surfaces or something like that. But why should they care? Why should one ball care that it meets the other ball? What is causing the friction that this allows them to coexist in the same space? What is it that exists in one ball that exists also in the other ball that will not allow one ball to enter the other ball and pass through it? Why? There shouldn't be anything like that unless there is something inside each of these billiard balls. I'm just using that as an example. That is identical in both. Because it is identical, they can relate. You see, one ball is like living in its own world, the other ball is living in its own world. Eventually, there are elements that are disconnected from one another, and they exist independently from one another. So why do they begin to care about each other when they hit? So, according to my theories, there is an explanation. I explained it in Delta Theory in Chapter 4, Life in the Logical Field. Anyway, what I'm saying is that both balls consist of identical elements that both carry, and when they collide, these identical elements collide. And these elements are not spatial, so they exist in both at the same time. And this is why they become relevant. It actually is the same. So that's what creates the relation between these two balls. It's not the particles, it's the fact that they both carry the same element, and that's what allows any type of relation between these two balls. I call these contingent dimensions, contingent elements. It's the same element in both, exactly the same element, not a copy of, not the same type, the same element in both balls that exists locally in both balls. So anyway, this is what causes the collision to be possible, because it's not two elements which are irrelevant to one another. It's the same element, and that's why it can relate. It can relate to itself, because every element relates to itself. If it doesn't relate to itself, then it's a relation. It's not a real element. It's something in our mind. So assuming there is these hooks that are in matter that cause it to be affected by the laws of physics, then essentially, if you remove these hooks, you will still have matter, but this matter will not be affected by the laws of physics, because there isn't the hook that causes the universal laws of physics to affect this piece of matter. So if you could evict these hooks from matter, and according to my additional analysis, living cells do that. They know how to evict these hooks. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them, the malignant hooks. If you can push it outside of you, then you are no longer affected by the laws of physics. So now you can float in whatever form you want because you're simply not affected. More than that, you become transparent. You still need to evict these hooks, and you need to evict them constantly because these hooks are pushed at you from the entire universe all the time. They like hang back to your particles. And this eviction could possibly be explained by these light sources, which are actually the eviction of these hooks. Why do I say that? It's because in practice, the electrical surges that emerge from cells throughout our nervous system, from our neurons, is, according to my analysis, is the same ejection of malignant hooks in the sense of biology. But if you evict all of them, then you can fly. Basically, you are no longer affected so much by physics to a certain degree, maybe to a total degree. I don't know. So it's not you don't need wormholes. You don't need that. You simply phase out from the rules of physics. You don't actually go to a different universe. You simply, everything that connects you to the flow of forces, or physical forces, becomes irrelevant to you because it's more like a tag. We are tagged to this universe because we have these hooks that tug us, that cause us to be related to this universe. We remove the tag. Now we are anonymous. We can go wherever we want. Once we stop forcing this tag from us, we become again a part of the universe. Something like that. It's a metaphor. You don't need to go too deeply. So this could be the explanation of how these UFOs work. And if someone figured that out, how to evict these hooks from matter, then we could build UFOs. I mean, that's all you need to do. How you do it? Honestly, I don't know. It could be a phenomenon which we didn't acknowledge in contemporary physics, but was known already by people. Yeah, it's possible. I'm not saying that must be it, but that's possible. The thing is that once you understand what this eviction is, you understand it's an eviction of all the hooks. And these hooks are also necessary for life. If you listen to my previous video, you understand why I'm saying that. Without these hooks, everything that was alive no longer functions. And that's why this flying whatever, if they're using that, wherever they land, they pretty much kill everything that touches them. It's not radiation, it's something else. It's you can call it something like a death ray, because that's exactly what it is. Taking everything that is alive and evicting from it the thing that makes it alive. So it becomes dead matter, if not completely disappearing, because it also no longer is tagged to the wall. And when it comes back dead. So that can explain how these things work, why there is all these markings wherever they land, and crop circles possibly could be made by the same phenomenon that causes these elements to fly, aircrafts or whatever. But there is another thing, and that's why I don't think it is from an extraterrestrial source or something like that. I think that all of these are pretty much dead. There's nothing in them, nothing alive, at least. Maybe robots, but that's all, because living things require these hooks to remain alive, and once you remove these, then you can no longer remain alive. I mean, maybe it's possible to still use that and somehow keep things alive protected by something. I don't know, but I would expect that it would be extremely hard to keep things alive under these conditions. And so all the UFOs we are seeing are just possibly attempts to create aircraft that will not cause the pilots to die. So we're just seeing test flights. And everything else is just like a disinformation scheme. Possibly because of the dangers. Possibly the potential for this technology is so high that whoever develops it will do anything to get it, but possibly the casualties from this technology have been so many that had anyone tried to develop it out in the open, the public opinion would say too many deaths with no success. I don't know. So it's just the truth that obviously I can't say. But if it is, then it pretty much deflates all the legends of UFOs and all that, and the extraterrestrials and all. You should find what I said, like woohoo, cuckoo, but that doesn't make it untrue, and it's not irrational. You just don't understand the details, I guess, because I didn't explain them. But I don't know if this is indeed what all this is about, at least as far as technology goes. I'm not forget about the entire story, the conspiracy, whatever, hiding, whatever. If that is what is going on, then we really should tone down the amazement we have from this technology. It's not so far above our current understanding. It's just a tiny fraction aside to our current understanding. And if I'm correct, there's no big surprise when we're not using this technology. It kills. It's dangerous. It's super dangerous to living things. It simply kills them. So it's not a wonder we're still using oil, because oil is not as dangerous as a death ray. I don't know. I'm not saying this is what I believe. It's just something that occurred to me, and I had this eureka moment that this can be the truth. I don't know. Probably this is all bullshit. I'm fine with that, but possibly it's the truth. Portions of it. Who knows? Maybe one day it will bear fruit if it hadn't already. And if it did bear fruit and we didn't know, then now maybe we can know. I don't know.